Let us start with the Mangala charm.
Good.
Om Angyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Svapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayan Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunata Tanvitam Tam Sajivam Sahadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Dehivam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanshakalpa Tarobhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Can you tell me again where this is in the book?
It's right in the beginning. It's past the prefix. It's right where it says introduction.
Okay.
There's a little.
Okay, I got it. I have to put that page down so I'm ready for it.
So we are on chapter 2, verse 20. Just let me know when you're all situated. You're ready? And is Maha ready?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Chai. Na jayate mriyate va kadachin nayam bhutva bhavitanva nabhuya ajo nitya shashyavato vyam purano nahanyate ham yamane sharire. For the soul there is never birth nor death, nor having once been, nor does he ever cease to be. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, undying, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. Purport. Quantitatively, the small atomic fragmental part of the Supreme Spirit is one with the Supreme. He undergoes no changes like the body. Sometimes the soul is called the steady or the kutashta. The body is subject to 6 kinds of transformations. It takes its birth in the womb of the mother's body, remains for some time, grows, produces some efforts, gradually dwindles, and at last vanishes into oblivion. The soul, however, does not go through such changes. The soul is not born, but because he takes on a material body, the body takes its birth. The soul does not take birth there. And the soul does not die. Anything which has birth also has death. And because the soul has no birth, he therefore has no past, present, or future. He is eternal, ever existing, and primeval. That is, there is no trace in history of his coming into being. Under the impression of the body, We seek the history of birth, etc., of the soul. The soul does not at any time become old, as the body does. The so-called old man, therefore, feels himself to be in the same spirit as in his childhood or youth. The changes of the body do not affect the soul. The soul does not deteriorate like a tree, nor anything material. The soul has no byproduct either. The byproducts of the body, namely children, are also different individual souls, and owing to the body, they appear as children of a particular man. The body develops because of the soul's presence, but the soul has neither offshoots nor change. Therefore, the soul is free from the 6 changes of the body. In the Gita Upanishad, also we find a similar passage which reads, Na jayate mriyate va vipaschin nayam kutaschin va na vibhuva kaschit. Ajo nitya shashvato yam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire. That's 1:2:18 in the Gita Upanishad. The meaning and purport of this verse is the same as the Bhagavad Gita, but here in this verse there's one special word, vipaschit, which means learned or with knowledge. The soul is full of knowledge, or full always with consciousness. Therefore, consciousness is the symptom of the soul. Even if one does not find the soul within the heart where he is situated, one can still understand the presence of the soul simply by the presence of consciousness. Sometimes we do not find the sun in the sky owing to clouds, or for some other reason, but the light of the sun is always there, and we are convinced that it is therefore daytime. As soon as there is a little light in the sky early in the morning, we can understand that the sun is in the sky. Similarly, since there is some consciousness in all bodies, whether the man or animal, we can understand the presence of the soul. This consciousness of the soul, however, different from the consciousness of the Supreme, because the Supreme Consciousness is all knowledge, past, present, and future. The consciousness of the individual soul is prone to be forgetful. When he is forgetful of his real nature, he obtains education and enlightenment from the superior lessons of Krishna. But Krishna is not like the forgetful soul. If so, Krishna's teachings of Bhagavad Gita would be useless. There are 2 kinds of souls, namely the minute particle soul, Anu Atma, and the super soul, Vibhu Atma. This is also confirmed in the Gita Upanishad in this way. Anur aniyan mahato mahiyan atmasya jantur nihito guhayam tam akratu pashyati vita shoko dhatu prasadan mahimam manam atmana. 1:2:20 in the Gita Upanishad. Excuse me, the pages are sticking together here. Both the super soul, Paramatma, and the atomic soul, Jivatma, are situated on the same tree of the body within the same heart of the living being. And only one who has become free from all material desires as well as lamentations can, by the grace of the Supreme, understand the glories of the soul. Krishna is the fountainhead of the super soul also, as it will be disclosed in the following chapters, and Arjuna is the atomic soul, forgetful of his real nature. Therefore, he requires to be enlightened by Krishna or by his bona fide representative, the spiritual master. But there can be multiple, but that's the end of the purport. One sec. I'm just kind of refreshing myself on the end because I have maybe a little comment that I want to make. If anyone has any questions, just feel free to jump in. So I think I had mentioned this in my lecture a couple of days ago, but Arjuna is basically, he is a liberated soul. He's not like us, but he is posing like us It's the, what do you call it? It's what we call Yoga Maya. Yoga Maya is a servant of Krishna who's the Ladini Shakti, part of the feminine energy. And that Yoga Maya will cloud the mind, even of Krishna himself. Yoga Maya can affect Krishna himself or Srimati Radharani. Like, I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Ramayana, but when Sita and Rama were out in the forest and they were in the exile, there was a part where Ravana disguised himself as a sage, and now Sita was she was protected by some sort of a field that I think Rama himself had created.
I thought
Or yes, Lakshman, excuse me.
Guarding that.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was
Yeah.
probably Lakshman. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in order to enact the pastime, Ravana had to entice her out of that protective barrier, and so he made some story to get her out. Now, of course, Sita is the Ladini Shakti. She's an expansion of Srimati Radharani. So, of course, she's infinitely wise. But she had to, in order for this pastime to enact, she had to leave that barrier. And so Yoga Maya had to influence her, at least momentarily, so that she could leave the barrier and be captured by Ravana, and then there was a separation between her and Rama, and then Lord Ramachandra could go and rescue her and have all these pastimes and have this beautiful Leela that we can read and enjoy and learn
I'm
from.
actually up to that in the, now. Like,
Mhm.
she had just been taken, and Hanuman is there in Lanka.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's like the whole time she's just crying for Ram.
Exactly.
The whole time.
Yeah.
You know.
And we also see Srimati Radharani missing Krishna also during the time that Krishna goes to Mathura and to Dwarka. Even
in Vrindavan, doesn't she yell at him a few times?
Of course. Yeah.
She does, because he stands her up.
Mm-hmm.
He promises that he's going to show up. And
Right.
He doesn't, and then she yells at the bee to yell at him.
Yes, that part where that was what was in my mind. I
Yells
couldn't.
at what?
The bumblebee.
The bumblebee comes in the garden and she's like, "You go tell your friend Krishna I've had enough of him."
Right. But that Yoga Maya is there ultimately for the pleasure of the Supreme. Because when you think about it, Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. Srimati Radharani is enjoying as well, and then, but you wonder, if you're God, if you are basically the cause of the innumerable material universes, how is it that you're really supposed to enjoy, really? And it is that Yogamaya potency that allows Krishna to forget that he has all these responsibilities. And, in a sense, we all need this on some minute infinitesimal level. We need to forget our responsibilities and enjoy, just to maintain our own, mental and emotional health.
Right.
So.
I didn't realize, though, that Arjuna is already... So, is Arjuna...
Mm-hmm. Well,
is he's not I can't think of the word. Not an avatar, but an incarnation of Krishna at all?
Not an incarnation, but he is an eternally liberated soul. So, Krishna has himself and his avatars, but he also has his eternal servants, those who are eternally liberated. And they will, in some cases, in the case of the Pandavas, they follow him, in all these innumerable material universes. He's doing this all the time, Krishna. He is for our benefit, and I guess for his own enjoyment to some degree, but ultimately it's to help us to understand who we are. So they're going practically on a tour from universe to universe to reenact this Leela.
Right.
Think of it like, like, what do you call it? Like a Broadway play. Like sometimes the Broadway play will leave New York and they'll go to another city to do the play. I don't know, like, did the cast of Hamilton ever do that? I think.
Yeah, they'll go to like.
They'll go from city to city. So in that way, they're going from universe to universe to reenact the Mahabharata, for instance. That's their Leela, and theoretically, a soul might be very attracted to that. I'm just making a hypothetical, like, and then that soul could participate in that Leela directly. Like if there's a certain Leela that we want, and I'm not saying we should, actively like,
Right.
But when we become attached to Krishna and certain Leelas, they can, it can like foster, nurture an attraction. And then when that attraction is nurtured and it's like growing like this creeper into like a beautiful plant, that will ultimately, it will bring us to where we want to go with Krishna. And it goes back to when I talked about the 5 rasas.
I have to write that down.
Mm-hmm.
The 5 rasas, because I keep forgetting them.
Do you have? Oh, here you go.
Thank you. I'm not really prepared.
It wasn't either, still looking.
The 5 rasas. R-A-S-S-A. Rasa?
R-A-S-A. Yeah.
Oh,
and you can
O
put
and
it
S?
Yeah.
R-A-S-A. And then
Okay.
plural is just
Right.
adding an S.
Okay.
Yeah. There's, shall I do it? Okay. Shantaras.
Oh, God. Can we just say it in English? Because Shanta?
Yeah,
Ras?
Shanta.
How do I spell that?
I mean, it's S-A-N-T-A, because like what happens is with
Okay.
the S, we kind of put like a period on top of the S, just like, and that is like SH sound. That's just how they transliterate it. If
Okay.
you want to put an SH, that's fine.
Okay, Shanta Ras, which
Yeah.
is
Is it neutrality, or it's like peace?
Peaceful.
okay.
Peaceful and neutral. That's when the it's like, for example, when a soul is like usually a plant or an animal with a relationship with the divine, with Krishna, and because there's no service involved,
Okay.
because a plant or an animal really doesn't have a choice. They just go by their instincts.
Okay.
The only human beings have like this choice and discernment to
Right.
live as we want.
Okay.
Dasya Ras.
Dasya?
Dasya. D-A-S-Y-A. That's the servant mode, like Hanuman.
Okay.
There's Sakya Ras. S-A-K-Y-A. That is the mood of friendship. Typically, that's like the cowherd boys, and also can be like, let's say, Arjuna and Krishna, because they're very dear friends. It can be Uddhava and Krishna, but I don't know if you probably haven't heard of Uddhava because he's in the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Where does he come in the Srimad Bhagavatam?
He comes in like, I think, to bring, he brings Krishna to Mathura, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, no, I'm not up to that.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, if you have Krishna book, he's somewhere in there.
Okay.
Yeah. And then let me know when you're ready for
4,
this.
I'm ready.
Vatsalya Ras. V-A-T-S-A-L-Y-A.
Okay.
That's parental affection.
Okay.
And the final one is Madhurya Ras. Madhurya. M-A-D-H-U-R-Y-A.
Okay.
This is the
Lover.
Yeah, lover. It's the affection of, like, between Krishna and the gopis, even, I would say, even like between Krishna and the queens of Dwarka. But there's, then it gets a little more esoteric. Then you have to divide that between Parakya Bhav and Svakya Bhav, like the relationship between husband and wife versus the relationship between, those who are not husband and wife.
Right.
And of course, since he's with the what do you call it? Like Radharani's expansions, they're all her ultimately. All the gopis are expansions of Srimati Radharani. All the queens of Dwarka are expansions of Srimati Radharani. And
All the female goddesses.
yeah, and so the like Bhada Jivas, those like us, for instance, those who are, we're in Maya, we're in Mahamaya, we're in this world, we're taking births. In that situation, those in Madhurya Ras take birth, can go into the spiritual world as manjaris, who are the maidservants of Srimati Radharani, or the maidservants of the maidservants of the maidservants of Srimati Radharani.
Are you saying maid?
Maidservants.
Like a maid?
Well,
Like
not like
milkmaid.
Okay.
milkmaid. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's
I
it.
think it has a little bit different of a meaning than what we think. In
Yeah,
English.
Right. It's different.
It's like
Yeah.
an associate that has a servitude attitude.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah. Definitely different connotation. That was
Yeah.
well put.
Not like, a French maid outfit with a dog.
Right.
Yes. I definitely appreciate that. That's a very good distinction. We have to make that, because I think Maha, you and I, like, we intuitively know what that means, so
Yeah.
it has to be explained. But anyway, we will go. Do we have any more questions about that verse? Because it's pretty profound. The soul has no beginning or end. Now, I personally, I can't comprehend having no beginning. I have trouble with that, because, like, coming from a Abrahamic or Christian background, it's like, okay, we were made and we're never going to end. That's what we learn. But we do have a beginning. But here we have no beginning or end. So I can't wrap my head around that.
It is a tough thing to comprehend, but
Yeah.
it does make sense. to
It
me.
does.
It does.
Good.
I
Good.
used to think that with each birth you got a different soul. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know why I thought that, but I
Mhm.
just thought each body had its own soul, not that your soul travels with you to each body. Like, my soul right now was my soul when I was a dog, when I was a worm, when I was
Mhm.
and I used to think like each creation got a separate soul,
Mhm.
but I
And
don't know, like when they
because
it
that's
clicked.
something hard for me to comprehend, is that we've been through every
Well,
kind of material.
it's
body,
not
like
that
a
hard to
worm or-
grasp. It's not that hard to grasp. You have reincarnated in the body you're in right now. How old are you?
60.
So many times. So you were first a seed in your father and an egg in your mother, and then you were fermented together. That's all that happens when semen and
Yeah.
ovum, it's a fermentation process. So first you're a sprout, you're a fermenting sprout, and then you're an embryo, and then you're a baby. This is the same soul, okay? At that point of when the sperm and the ovum connect, there's a light that goes off, and it's scientifically, you can see it on YouTube.
Right.
So like there's that connection bursts, and there's the energy is there right at that second, and the soul is implanted at that second. Even though you're going from a sprout to an embryo to a baby to a child to preteen, you've reincarnated in this body over and over and over again. So what's so hard to realize that we've had other coverings with this soul? We just chose this body at this time, or we're lucky enough to have been given a human body at this time because our consciousness is higher. But in the greater scheme of things, from the time we're conceived until the time we take our last breath, we've reincarnated so many times and changed so many times, but our soul hasn't changed. And that's why it says, like, even an old man feels like a young
Mm.
person. We all feel that.
Yes.
That you can understand. So just take it one step further, that this is a divine gift that we're given, and that it's not impossible that God can make a stone, a plant, a rock, a human. Yeah, he can make us a dog and then make us a human being. It's just, you just have to have that faith that it's that easy.
You know what I was thinking the other day? I'm like just sitting, looking at the trees and the grass and everything that's there. And there are trees that have been alive for
Thousands.
Yes,
right. So,
that's right.
So, like, but
Yes.
they do have that,
That soul.
They do.
right?
Yeah.
But they
Yes.
don't. They don't reincarnate for thousands of years. Like
They're-
And that's their karma.
That,
And that's why it's in, sorry.
no, that's
That's
right.
why it's in the Shikshastakam, to be as tolerant, more tolerant than a tree. Because a tree has to withstand heat, cold, water, no water, animals, humans, environment, and it doesn't complain. It always provides either fruit or shelter or something. So it's in a sense cursed to have so many lifetimes, so many years, but at the same time, it's also what a lesson to like stand there and like have the world going around you all the time, you know, and it takes a long time for you to take that next birth. Like, how long does a redwood live? Thousands of years, right?
Right. I was thinking about that. But then you hear that like the years of Brahma,
Millions.
right? Like,
Yeah.
That's actually
but like 1 year to us is like
A sneeze to him.
yeah.
a day of Brahma is approximately 4 billion years and change.
Right.
Yes.
So,
Mhm.
but so like I don't know. I just like think about that. Like maybe being a tree is okay. You know, like I feel like the things around us, even though we have such a higher consciousness,
Mhm.
we're just not using it
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, it's just like that. Those things, the trees, the plants, they just do what they have to do without thinking about it.
Nancy is here.
Oh,
We're
so
so-
happy to
Good
be back.
morning.
We're so happy to see you.
I'm so happy to be here.
Mm.
Oh, where we at? What are you gonna
Um,
we
so-
on 20?
We
We're
we
on
just
21
we were
right
doing 20. We're
Okay.
gonna do 21 when
Okay.
we're done discussing. I don't know.
What do you got
Yeah.
on right now?
We're
just
we're speaking about
the eternal soul.
Yes.
Or how
because verse 20 talks about how the soul has no beginning or end.
Right.
Yes.
I read it last night.
Jai. So that's where we are.
Oh, so yeah, so I always have known the words Paramatma and Jiva Atma.
Mhm.
So Anu Atma is like another way of saying Jiva Atma, right?
What was that? I'm sorry.
Okay. So my whole life I've only heard Paramatma and Jiva Atma.
Right,
and
right.
here it's saying that the Atma is a minute particle, so that's like a Jiva Atma.
Mm-hmm.
And the Vibhu Atma
Mm-hmm.
is like the Paramatma.
Right. I mean, the way I see this, I mean, I have to admit I don't have a perfect understanding of this. I think it feels like this is like two components of the soul. You know, you have this, you know, us and Krishna that is with us always. That
But we've learned it as the Atma and the Paramatma.
Right, and this is giving another two
Yeah,
names.
but is that because it's coming from?
Oh, maybe
the
because it's
concept
coming
is-
from
yeah.
the Kata. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
And who wrote that?
That's a good. I think they don't really say exactly who wrote the Upanishads. I think Vyasadeva compiled them. He was the one that brought them together.
Yeah, I thought Vyasadeva
Oh, thank you.
all of that, and that the Bhagavad was was the, like, conclusion of everything.
Well, like he found it and put it all together.
I thought he was the author of
He's
all
the-
of
Me too.
I'm not sure. I mean, I have to admit, I really didn't pay attention to the Upanishads. It's not something we really focus on. Although, like, as we can see, Srila Prabhupada does invoke the verses occasionally.
Yeah.
But,
What do you need, a pen?
No, I was looking for my other glasses. I have a pen. Let me just get my book.
Oh, here's your pen back.
I
Sorry.
can use this one if it's.
Oh, you're just finding pens everywhere.
Nice.
She's like me, she's got another one.
Let me see. Okay. Not used to reading from the book. That's okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yours is even different than
Why are
this
you
one.
why are
Oh,
you reading from the book?
I'm
today?
just trying something new.
Okay.
Having, feeling pages. Yeah. Are we ready for 21?
Yes.
Okay. Nancy, do you have 21?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Veda vinashinam nityam yayanam ajam avyayam katam sa purusha partha kam gatayati hantikam. O Partha, how can a person who knows that the soul is indestructible, unborn, eternal, and immutable kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? Purport. Everything has its proper utility, and a man who is situated in complete knowledge knows how and where to apply a thing for its proper utility. Similarly, violence also has its utility, and how to apply violence rests with the person in knowledge. Although the justice of the peace awards capital punishment to a person condemned for murder, the justice of the peace cannot be blamed because he orders violence to another person according to the codes of justice. In Manu Samhita, the law book for mankind, it is supported that a murderer should be condemned to death, so that in his next life he will not have to suffer for the great sin he has committed. Therefore, the king's punishment of hanging a murderer is actually beneficial. Similarly, when Krishna orders fighting, it must be concluded that violence is for supreme justice, and as such, Arjuna should follow the instruction, knowing well that such violence committed in the act of fighting for Krishna is not violence at all, because at any rate, the man, or rather the soul, cannot be killed. So for the administration of justice, so-called violence is permitted. A surgical operation is not meant to kill the patient, but to cure him. Therefore, the fighting to be executed by Arjuna at the instruction of Krishna is with full knowledge. So there is no possibility of sinful reaction. Another thing that just popped in my head as I read this purport is that Kurukshetra is, even before that battle took place, it was known as a place of spirituality, like a place of, I think, was sacrifices, right, Maha? Or what was it before they came for the battlefield? It was known for.
Wasn't there another battle? It was like a designated spot for the battle, right?
Yeah, it had some like very significant auspiciousness to it.
Yeah.
So that was added. I mean, that was just, I think that was just so ideally, of course, Krishna already knew that millions of people were going to die in that place. I think even it's either in the first chapter or somewhere in the second chapter, he says, whether you choose to fight or not, that all these people are going to die. So, that was ordained. So that was, that's the situation. So, yeah, I mean, basically, as Vaishnavas, we don't kill any animals for food or for sacrifice either. So actually, but we do take fruits and vegetables. The vegetables, their lives are ended when we harvest them, but it's through that offering of prasadam to Krishna that we are completely absolved from any sin from killing the plants. Because, like, for instance, I think at least 10, 15 years ago, there were like people on the internet who loved debating vegetarianism, and they said, well, first of all, what about plants? Plants are living things too. And then, like, oh, but what about those the mice that go into the machinery, for during like heavy, like industrial harvesting, like in big developed countries,
Yeah.
So
Everything, bugs, there's all kinds of
yes,
things
bugs
that are getting
too.
killed.
Yes, of course.
The-
And especially through like modern methods of pesticide. I mean, for instance, I know like in India they use neem for pesticide, and I don't know if that kills the bugs or it just diverts them and they go somewhere else. I'm not entirely sure.
Right.
But that
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
thing. And so I think also because, well, when I think about it, I feel like the plants and fruits and vegetables, you pick it, but they continue.
To grow.
Oh yes.
Right.
Hmm.
It's not like you're killing them, but also the consciousness,
Mhm.
they don't feel the same kind of pain or
Right.
suffering
Mhm.
that an animal would feel.
Yeah, it's a lower
Exactly. That's
vibration.
true. Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But the mice might.
Oh, of course. Oh, definitely. They definitely do.
But
Yeah.
if the mice are getting, I think it's a difference if like you're planning to slaughter cows,
Right, the
or
intention
a
is-
mice accidentally, you don't put that mice into the machinery. That
Right.
wasn't like
It was
your
an accident.
intent to actually kill
Right,
a mouse.
the intention is
Mhm.
not there.
Yeah.
So, right.
Mm.
And maybe those mice get rebirthed in a higher.
Yep. Higher. We're doing them a favor.
Actually, yeah. I mean, if they were involved, let's say, like the mice die, and then within that harvest of vegetables, the vegetables are used for prasadam, then yes, they get sukriti from that. Sukriti is like, they're like pious credits, and we don't necessarily have to make an effort to get sukriti, because Krishna is so pure and so merciful that anytime we encounter, like even if we're just like in a subway one day and we hear devotees singing Sankirtan, just hearing that purifies us. We don't have to do anything. Although if we do choose to get closer, we get more.
Right.
But just simply being in that area gives us sukriti. So that is all part of the mercy.
Did you guys get a lot of sukriti
I
yesterday?
didn't go.
You didn't?
Actually, speaking of sukriti and Rath Yatra, I went, by the way.
He's a
And
good
how
man.
was it in the rain?
It honestly, I mean, I'm a very comfort-oriented person. So, like, it was still crowded. So, like, I was pulling Jagannath's cart, and I was surrounded by devotees, and everyone had an umbrella because it was coming down, like, enough that we wanted an umbrella. And so, like, sometimes somebody else's umbrella would, like, brush mine, and then, like, the water from the other person's umbrella would, like, drip on my head, and it's unpleasant. But on the other hand, I was glad to go.
And that's a big sacrifice.
Yeah, I was happy to be
I was
there.
like, I'm gonna go. I sat by the window all morning going, it's gonna stop. It's gonna stop. I even texted him. I was like, it stopped, but I'm gonna wait an hour. And sure enough, in an hour it was pouring again.
Hmm.
I'm a baby.
Yeah.
So did you feel like you had the same kind of joy out of it?
I mean, I want to say, I would love to say that there was more joy involved, but it's just, like my shoes were inundated. But it's funny because I didn't feel that until after the Rath Yatra.
Right.
Like I went from Washington Square Park to the Bhakti Center. I took off my shoes. I didn't really feel my shoes like being inundated
Right,
until
your feet were all pruned up.
Yeah, and then I spent like 2 hours in the Bhakti Center. I was chanting by the deities, and then after I put my shoes on, I'm like, oh my God, like
Right.
how did I walk all this way with my shoes like this? So yeah, I mean, I would say I got some kind of compassion from the Lord
Right.
to at least walk all the way without feeling that.
I mean, your senses are also taking in all
Yes.
these other things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And like, where's your focus? It's
Yeah.
like yoga. Like, where's your focus? There's chanting. It's loud. There's people. You're
Yes.
looking at this. Your focus isn't on,
Yeah.
you know, my wet feet.
Right.
It's like, you know, your senses are overloaded elsewhere until it's like not, and it's quiet and it's all over, and then you go to put those shoes
Right.
back on, and that's your focus, right? Like, how did I do this?
It's just totally, yeah, it was a beautiful experience, but I'm hoping my next Rath Yatra, it's just like cloudy, maybe
Not too hot.
some
Not
light
too-
sprinkles, you know, like again, I'm a very comfort oriented person, you know, because like in Bhagavad Gita 3:14, it tells us that, you know, the rain is from the sacrifices that we make, then the rain comes. So, you know, it's auspicious.
But we're also not supposed to complain about the weather.
Yeah.
And I do also.
That's okay.
I'm the same way. Like I won't do something. If,
Right.
Yeah, I was on my couch all day.
And I'll be like, oh, well, this day is for that.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
to be Tomasic.
Yes.
Right. So true.
But yeah, I think it's pretty awesome when you
Override
go
that,
anyway
yeah.
and you do that and knowing that you're that person, you know, you kind of let that go.
Was it pouring? Or
It was not
Yeah,
pouring.
because I don't remember it pouring here. Like
It was pouring.
It
for a
was-
while.
Was it?
Yeah.
Maybe I
In the
wasn't
morning.
aware.
And well, from like where I was, I would call it moderate. You
Yeah.
know,
Right.
it wasn't so light that you could just not have an
and it was
umbrella.
consistent. It
Yeah,
was
very-
just
it
kept-
was-
right.
Absolutely consistent.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like when I got there, it was like, let's say a little after 10 o'clock in the morning. It was not raining in the city. I'm like, yes, this is great. We're going to just have the clouds so it's not too hot or
Right.
anything. This is going to be perfect. And I went to Home Depot to buy a broom for sweeping in front of the deities. And after I got that, I was walking toward the parade. And then all of a sudden, just the moderate rain came. It wasn't like trickle. It wasn't from nothing to trickle. It went straight to moderate rain in a matter of seconds.
So are you still sweeping in that situation or no?
Yeah.
Oh, is that just like an act like
Yeah,
a?
you're clearing
I
the
think
way
it's
for
a
the-
tradition that I believe started with the King of Puri.
Yeah.
And he was sweeping, and I think the cart would not move. The Rath Yatra cart would not move, but then like I think the king changed his clothing, so he was wearing like humble servant clothing, and he brought a broom and he swept in front of Jagannath, and then the cart moved.
So interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did you guys look it up on YouTube?
Yeah.
It's
I
crazy,
did.
right?
Yeah.
Look what up on
The
YouTube.
one from India.
The
You can see Jagannath Puri for Rath Yatra, and there's like millions and millions of people.
Oh, in India.
Yeah.
It's
And the
insane.
deities are really big.
How big are they?
I
Like
have
the
no
size of a
idea.
house? Like
They're like the size of a car, I feel like, because did you see the men trying to
Yes.
rock them? And
yeah.
so the deities are so big, and they have to take them out of the temple and then bring them up like a platform to get on the cart. And they showed like all these men behind them, on the sides and in front,
Yeah,
like
it was enormous.
rocking
Yeah.
and trying to move the deity, and the deity's
How
going.
heavy do you think think it is? Did they even say?
No, I really don't know.
I would say at least hundreds of pounds.
Yeah.
But like I would say
I would say more. Like,
Yeah.
Like a ton?
yeah.
Like a car.
I mean,
He's
to
huge.
yes, like watch how like heavy it looked for them.
Yeah.
I think hypothetically, if you brought all three of them into your studio and they were equidistant from one another,
Yeah.
you wouldn't be able to have a yoga class here.
Right.
Yeah.
like they
Yeah,
would-
that's what I
yeah.
mean. All three of them together. Yeah.
But they would fit here, but at the same time, you wouldn't
would
be
be
able
it.
to like
Yeah.
have a class.
So big.
So.
Amazing.
I can't see my. Can one of you please give me the time? Because I want to.
9:35.
Okay, we can definitely do one more verse for sure.
So we're on 22.
Yeah. Anyone have any questions at this point?
No.
Okay,
I
beautiful.
can't believe we're moving along like this. I'm really proud of us.
It seems like we get 3 verses done every
Yeah.
session, which is great.
It really is.
All right. Is everyone on 22 now?
Yes.
Beautiful. Okay. Vasam sijirna niyata vihaya navani grina tinaro parani tata shirani vihaya jirnani anyani samya tinavani dehi. As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, similarly, the soul accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. Purport. Change of body by the atomic individual soul is an accepted fact. Even some of the modern scientists who do not believe in the existence of the soul, but at the same time cannot explain the source of energy from the heart, have to accept continuous changes of body which appear from childhood to boyhood, and from boyhood to youth, and again from youth to old age. From old age, the change is transferred to another body. This has already been explained in the previous verse. Transference of the atomic individual soul to another body is made possible by the grace of the supersoul. The supersoul fulfills the desire of the atomic soul as one friend fulfills the desire of another. The Vedas, like the Mundaka Upanishad, as well as the Shvetasvatara Upanishad, compare the soul and the supersoul to 2 friendly birds sitting on the same tree. One of the birds, the individual atomic soul, is eating the fruit of the tree, and the other bird, Krishna, is simply watching his friend. Of these 2 birds, although they are the same in quality, one is captivated by the fruits of the material tree, while the other is simply witnessing the activities of his friend. Krishna is the witnessing bird, and Arjuna is the eating bird. Although they are friends, one is still the master and the other is the servant. Forgetfulness of this relationship by the atomic soul is the cause of one's changing his position from one tree to another or from one body to another. The jiva soul is struggling very hard on the tree of the material body, but as soon as he agrees to accept the other bird as the supreme spiritual master, as Arjuna agreed to do by voluntary surrender unto Krishna for instruction, the subordinate bird immediately becomes free from all lamentations. Both the Katha Upanishad and Shvetashvatar Upanishad confirm this. Samane vrikshe purusho nimagno nishaya sochati muhyamanaha jushtam yada pasyati anyam isham asya mahimanam iti vitasokaha. Although the 2 birds are in the same tree, the eating bird is fully engrossed with anxiety and moroseness as the enjoyer of the fruits of the tree, but in some way or other, he turns his face to his friend, who is the Lord, and knows his glories. At once, the suffering bird becomes free from all anxieties. Arjuna has now turned his face toward his eternal friend Krishna, and is understanding the Bhagavad Gita from him. And thus, hearing from Krishna, he can understand the supreme glories of the Lord, and be free from lamentation. Arjuna is advised herewith by the Lord not to lament for the bodily change of his old grandfather and his teacher. He should rather be happy to kill their bodies in the righteous fight, so that they may be cleansed at once of all reactions from various bodily activities. One who lays down his life on the sacrificial altar or in the proper battlefield is at once cleansed of bodily reactions and promoted to a higher status of life. So there was no cause for Arjuna's lamentation. So, I'm sorry, if anyone wants to...
It could be taken so many ways.
I know.
Right?
It's
I'm thinking the
like-
same thing, like,
Yeah,
what is
like-
it, the jihad? That, like,
Yeah, what is the jiva? What does that mean? What is it?
Jiva-
You guys were talking about
jiva
that
is
before.
soul.
the soul.
Right,
Yeah.
but
Like us.
that's not the question.
Uh.
Hold on a second. Let me go back to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you could like take that in a
To
dark
an
way,
extreme,
yeah.
right. And yeah, can take it in a dark way.
And who decides that? I guess that decision of like people could misconstrue that in their own mind.
Right,
Like I'm
that's-
almost doing you a favor by
Mhm.
taking your life.
Well, I mean, this is an extreme circumstance.
Right.
I mean, we are not going to be in a situation like that. So, I mean, in this situation, like Arjuna was the heir. Arjuna and his brothers, they were, I mean, Yudhisthira would be the king, not Arjuna, but all 5 of the Pandavas were basically the heir to a kingdom. And the Kauravas usurped them. I mean, there were so many things
There were so many.
Yeah.
that they did wrong. I mean, I did it in like the lecture I gave on Thursday. I mean, there's pretty much a laundry list of what they did. They tried to kill Bhima. They tried to disrobe and assault Draupadi. They tried to, they imposed a very brutal and unreasonable exile of 13 years and said they have to go incognito the last year. If they break incognito, and they're pretty famous, you know,
Yeah.
and, you know, if that happens, oh, they have to start all
It's
over
like
again.
such a
And they
game.
were so
Yeah.
virtuous throughout the whole time
Right.
and everything. But,
Yeah.
you know, it is an odd, I feel, way to explain that, because it's sort of, we are understanding it, but
Yeah.
maybe not everybody that reads
Exactly,
that
like we're
would.
being guided through
Right.
this.
Yes.
But what
Right,
if someone,
it seems
like
like,
Hitler read the Bhagavad Gita, so
Right.
is this what he thought? You know,
Right,
like,
like,
I'm doing
oh,
them a favor. I'm
Yeah.
cleansing them of their sin.
It-
Yeah.
well-
it could be misinterpreted. That's why we need a guru.
yeah.
Yes. I mean, and Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, verse 34 says that we have to humbly approach a spiritual master. It's
Right.
essential.
It's not for you to make that decision.
And that
Yeah.
humble attitude is everything, because someone can approach a spiritual master and be very puffed up and cocky about it
Mhm.
and not learn anything. But if you humbly approach, you're really inquiring submissively, then you're going to learn. Then things will be explained to you. But if you have like an attitude or a chip on your shoulder, none of this is going to make sense, and you are going to be able to construe it to a negative,
Mhm.
you know. Oh, he killed his teachers.
Right,
Right, an
yeah.
eye for an eye.
Yeah, yeah.
It's funny
Humble
because
as one.
actually yesterday I was on the line for Prashadam at Rath Yatra, and there was a young guy, and he was asking me a lot of questions, and I tried my best to explain everything to him. He wasn't a devotee. He was,
Mhm.
you know, like a young guy from,
Yeah.
I guess, Greenwich Village. And I tried to explain to him about the Pandavas and the Kauravas. Oh, that sounds like an eye for an eye, you know, that was his perspective. Yeah. But I tried to explain, you know, it was for justice.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, and to many, it seems like an extreme thing, but I mean, really, the Kauravas were really beyond reasoning. Basically, the wisest people in that room when Dushashan wanted to disrobe Draupadi, like you have Bhishma and Drona, and neither of them did anything.
They just sat there.
They just sat
but
there.
I do think that if you just read this as, you know, like pick it up,
Mhm.
I think I really feel like you need to read the Mahabharata first,
Yeah.
just to get
Just
the,
to know
Yeah.
I think
how
it helps.
terrible
It
it
really
was.
does help.
Yeah.
because
But
it
we
just
weren't
tells,
taught that way.
yeah,
Really?
Yeah, Prabhupada was
No.
on a crash course.
Yeah.
We learned the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam and then the Chaitanya Charitamrita, nothing else, because how many years did he have to be here? He didn't have
Right.
time to dawdle
Yeah.
around with the Mahabharat. You could get lost in the Mahabharat.
Yeah.
You
But
know?
I
True.
think the Bhagavatam is even more so.
but
Like
the,
it leads. There's no way of knowing what took place prior, like to why it got to this point. You know what I mean? Like this is pretty intense, the Gita, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, oh, we had a couple of arguments. It was like they were what the Pandavas went through that got them to this point. I don't know. I'm surprised that wasn't like a bigger push there.
it just
Lay it out
helps,
for you.
I mean, it helps me
Yeah.
to understand
Yeah.
that
that
purport
part.
and
Yeah.
that verse, and like, you know, okay, I get it,
Mhm.
but what about the person who has no idea and is reading this? They could take it in a way that is dark, negative,
Buddhism letters needs to be-
permission to be violent.
What is this?
Yeah.
What
You
kind
know?
of-
Mhm. Well, the other thing to consider is that Arjuna and his brothers, they were trained to do this. They were born to rule.
Yeah.
They were
You can
born
cut
to
it
fight,
back
and
and
they were
roll
born
it
to
down.
kill if
Like,
necessary.
yeah, see how, like,
So,
I didn't bring it all the
so
way
when
down.
we,
The roots are probably down
excuse
here.
me.
If you cut it here,
We,
like this, it'll grow some more. Yeah.
You can
I mean,
grow
it's-
it
it's-
more? I'm
it's-
Well,
sorry.
the way I cut it, yeah,
Okay.
the plant
It'll
might
regrow.
grow.
It's very rare. Very few people have that dharma to rule, to fight, and to kill. I mean, but that was the Pandavas. I mean, and even the Kauravas did too, but they misused that. Because even after the Pandavas honored their side of the exile, like still Duryodhana did not want to honor
Right.
it. Said, I
Right.
won't even give them like whatever, a needle
Right, right.
to a needle of land.
Yeah.
They're,
I know.
yeah, they
I
just
get it.
lost all ethics.
Yeah. And since they had the same training that Arjuna did. I mean, they were dangerous to have in the world based on their like lack of righteousness. So something had to be done to end that tyranny.
Mm.
And even like in the Mahabharata, like I kept thinking like the whole time, like when is like Drona or Bhishma, when are they gonna stand up and do the right thing by
Right.
by these, you know, the
Right.
Pandavas, and they didn't, like silence, and
Yeah.
you know, they would go to the blind king and try to talk to him. but-
Dhritarashtra.
Yeah, but they didn't, you know, they actually allowed a lot of this to take place too,
Yeah.
which is kind of like.
I know. I got really frustrated
Me
at certain
too.
points, and
For a long time I couldn't listen to it because I get so mad that like the Pandavas were so good and they were so
Right, like-
abused.
Yeah.
I get so
but
worked
then
up.
you have to
So
think
were
about the
them.
message, how
Yeah.
you know the Kauravas, and how it's kind of extreme, like an extremist kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. But it's there to show us that.
Yeah, it's
you
to
know,
teach
yeah.
us how not to behave.
Yeah.
Right. And of course, again, since they were eternally liberated souls, it was Yoga Maya that
Right.
brought them
Covers
there.
them
Exactly.
over.
Right.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, like that, the act of defeating them in battle was and in Kurukshetra of all places, that absolved them from any
Yeah, we have to
reactions.
look up Kurukshetra.
It
And
said
what
that
the-
it was always an ancient place of pilgrimage.
Yeah,
That's all it said.
Have
Well,
you gone when you went
no,
to India?
no.
I haven't gone there either.
Yeah.
I don't even know where it is.
I think it's like either in Punjab, it's somewhere north of Delhi. I mean, if you go to Vrindavan, you could probably get there within a day or so, really. But I want to thank you all
Thank
for being
you.
here.
Thank you.
It's really my pleasure.
I love it.
I'm telling you, this is really mercy
So good, 'cause
that
we
you're
can tell
here.
It's your pleasure. That's what we honestly, we don't feel like nobody's, everybody's coming here
Okay.
because they want to.
Were you
be
saying
here.
that you could
Krishna
plant it?
bringing you all here
would
is
grow?
mercy.
The plants,
It's
like
so
where I
much.
cut them,
Your
they might
YouTube,
give off
I
these
watched
shoots
a
of leaves.
couple of
at this
So if I
point.
put it
your
in
thing on
water, I
YouTube.
might.
Oh, no,
Your,
not this, what's already in the
Oh,
ground.
okay.
No.
Explaining,
I was like, oh, are you saying that?
But when you buy this, like if